Both companies are excellent. United Healthcare is a much larger national company. SIHO is a regional company. So their network, of course, is much narrower. Thus, they have the 3 tierings.
Yeah.
Were there any questions from you all? We hadn't discussed that. We had SIHO once, but I think it comes down to ultimately, there is savings to switch out to a different carrier. But it's also putting potentially more cost share back on the employees.
By savings, are you talking about just the total monthly premium?
Just the total monthly premium between the current, looking at the current renewal, which I was on the first page, and the SIHO, the very first that I introduced. I mean, there is savings there on a monthly basis. Overall, about
$245.
$245.
Yeah.
But what that would be doing is narrowing the network down, which potentially, of course, again, puts more cost share back on the employees, so.
Well, and if you actually look at your option 1 that she gave us on Friday, it's that premium would be $15,898, where the copay is $30.60 in United Healthcare, and then the copay is $35.70 there. So you're only talking a difference of between $760 and $898. So not even $200 difference there.
What's the percentage of town base?
Well, currently in the salary ordinance this year, it is the employee pays 17.5%, and the town pays the rest.
And you're only talking a difference of like $3,000 yearly, right, for the monthly premium?
Yes. And that's kind of across the board, just comparing them with as close or comparable deductibles as you can. It just runs consistently between $2,800 to $3,000 a year in savings.
I would hate to be somebody who has to think about what tier I'm going to when I'm in a facility. I would hate to think, wait, is this a tier? Am I gonna owe $4,000 this time for my deductible? Or am I gonna owe $1,000? I'd hate to be, taking my kids to the doctor and then, Or-
We didn't take our kids to the doctor, we don't have them.
no, I know you don't, I know.
So we don't make that.
But then you look at it too, with SIHO, some of these doctors that they currently go to would possibly not be in the network.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So they would have to do search, whereas I do know on the United Healthcare website, you can go in there, because even Zach just told me this, I think, last week. You can go on there and he found exactly, he needed a dermatologist, found the ones that were in the network and made an appointment, because Jasper, he couldn't get in for a year, almost. So that is very nice that, he went to Owensboro and he knew that doctor was in the network.
My opinion is, I think we should stay with United Healthcare, the option 1. I don't think there's that much difference over the year to look at SIHO and this other.
And we did put in the cushion in our budget for 10% on our, that it may go up 10%. So we do have it.
We're only talking about 2%, it's not worth it.
Right,
Do
exactly.
you guys have an opinion?
I would hope so, since they're here.
Yeah.
I would much rather just stay where we're at.
UHC, yeah. Is that what you guys think too, UHC?
Yeah, I'm kind of for that, it's just the increase, like you said, you budgeted for 10%, well now we're 12%. Are we gonna be responsible to cover that additional percentage, or is the town going to?
Your 17.5% will reflect part of that increase.
Yeah. So if it increases, you're gonna see an increase if they stay with 17.5% of the employees portion, and the town will both see an increase, but,
I think his question is the town gonna take them to 19% or something to cover the 2%. I think that's the question.
Oh, I got you, okay.
Because you know yours is going at 12%. Your share.
Yeah, I know it's going up.
Just want to know, is the share gonna get bigger to cover it because
Of your guys'.
In the past,
our budget's going at 4% a year and we're constantly budgeting 12% more? This is just gonna become such a big part of our budget that it's a problem.
in the past, we have, just, taken back on the ancillary program to offset that difference in cost. I mean, we have done that in the last, 4 years, 4 years, something like that. You know, we started out at $235 a month they got, and we're down to $200. So that there wasn't so much of an, increase for the town and the employee.
And I would
That's-
like for the council to keep in their hip pocket that the utility department, utilities nationwide, well, workforce, you guys know, is in shambles right now.
Right.
In the utility department, you have another aspect of that, there's no one coming up in the ranks to fill people's positions right now. So we need to keep in mind that we need to keep the good employees that we have now, as well as be able to entertain and bring in qualified people in the future. So that's something you need to keep in mind as well.
That is true.
Employee cost share.
What do other utility departments, what are they covering?
I'm sorry.
What are other utility department are doing for insurance?
We haven't looked at that in a long time. I don't know. Some are self-insured. I think the county's self-insured.
Can anybody speak on the county? Do you, either one of you?
Well,
Okay.
they are fully, well, they are self-insured because they have lower deductibles, but they're larger.
They're large.
They can do that.
That's the
Yeah,
main.
the larger.
We're we're kind of in a stuck place because as a small group, most of these carriers, I only know of one, and that's Aetna, and they are very high deductibles. Will not write a small group under 25. And the kind of trend when, as agents, we're looking at it, generally, we're not gonna look at a group smaller than 50 going into that type of a plan because there's just no savings there.
Okay.
It's very hard to
Yeah,
compare
there's
apples to
factors.
apples.
You almost have to have somebody committed, one employee committed that handles the claims for that, because you're responsible for the first $10,000 of claims. So
I guess another question would be, what percentage of this premium comes out of the wastewater and sewer, which we have control over increasing, versus the town budget where we have no control over increase?
Well, on the town,
The lion's share of it is-
out of the 20 people that are on the insurance, there are 3 police officers and 3, so 6. So 14 come out of you, well, except for Zach, so 13 come out of water and sewer.
Basically, a third comes out of the town. So we can control 2/3 of that increase, we can offset, but the other third we can't.
Well, the only way we can control that is by a rate increase,
Right,
so,
but we
I mean,
have
there's
that
a,
ability. We don't have the ability to just increase the town budget to cover it. We could do a rate increase to cover the employees if we need to, for us.
Theoretically, for the next 3 years, at least in the wastewater department, maybe some for water, we will be able to adjust some funds and line items because we have the capital projects,
Mhm.
which I will
Right.
show some money around for that as well.
We wanna keep our employees, and we wanna attract employees. And we're not offering family insurance. I just think we need to do the best we can to make it feasible for
funds
the
that we have
employees.
yeah.
traditionally with municipalities, insurance has always been kind of rich, primarily for that reason. You know, when you're doing a comparison to production and other job markets that are available, traditionally, part of the attraction for hiring and retaining has always been health insurance benefits and the programs. So that's a very valid point.
I won't speak for everyone else, but I would rather see a reduction in the ancillary benefit as opposed to taking
to go with the renewal and the $1,200 deduction.
I'll second that.
The renewal, I'm sorry, I didn't
Of
hear
the
it.
$1,200
$1,200
deductible for United Healthcare. I don't see enough savings to justify raising the deductible.
With United Healthcare.
And does that include the dental and the vision? As it stands, there were no increases
Yeah,
Everything.
for dental, vision, or the life insurance.
No, we did have an increase, a small.
Oh, it's just small increase.
Yeah, it's like $1. It was $1 on each employee a month, I think it was. No, the town pays for that, yeah.
Yes.
To include the vision,
I seconded
All
it.
right. We have a first and second, any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Motion carries.
Okay, and Kelly, I will get with you
Yeah.
tomorrow morning. Is that okay to swing through?
yeah, while we have quite a few of the employees here, it is set up that December 15th will be renewal day,
Will be enrollment day.
enrollment day,
We
so
haven't set a time, but do you have a particular time that you feel is better?
probably the earlier the better. I mean, we can get started at,
Because everybody's wants to cut out.
yeah.
So,
I can change mine pretty easy.
Yeah.
okay, so maybe around 10 or 11 o'clock.
Yeah, about 10 o'clock. Let's go with 10.
Aaron's the one that's coming down.
Yeah.
So 10? Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your work.
thanks, Danita.
Chris, are you ready?
Well, I have some good news. To begin, I'd like to recognize our departments, each and every one of you, for having a banner year as far as losses. I can tell you this year we had a .40 loss ratio as compared to 183% loss ratio 2 years ago. So, it's pretty good. Thank you to each and every one of you for being safe, being mindful and respectful of others and the town's property and working so hard, doing a great, great job. So that is much to celebrate today. And we have more to celebrate.
Thank you.
Jason, I'm just gonna let you take one and pass it down if you want, just like school.
One more, Chris.
I really didn't mean to do it, I will. Share it with you. As you've probably become accustomed, I do an at-a-glance summary sheet versus encumbering you with pages and pages of information. This is a summary based on population changes, additions, changes in sewer water customers. Lisa shared with me, and thank you, Lisa, for your hard work on this. Always good to see the towns growing, seeing more income coming in. We did have some net additions in inland marine, and property valuation replacement cost adjustment, which is also called inflation guard. This was our year for that. We make that adjustment about every 4 or 5 years, and I think we all know what the cost of building materials have done, and labor over the last couple of years. We had the deletion of several vehicles with a total valuation of $78,968. Again, congratulations on the loss ratio. That's all good news. And congratulations on locking this rate in, having the foresight to do this. This is a 3-year rate guarantee. Thankfully, we did this prior to COVID, which has affected the insurance industry significantly. So the net premium addition this year is not an increase. It reflects a change of $2,539 for all of the above increases and additions of coverage.
I have a question on this,
Yes?
just to make sure. I've never seen this laid out as arresting officers and reserve officers. But you know that in the state of Indiana, reserve officers have all the powers and duties of.
Absolutely. The difference has to do with full benefits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you have a Class A, which are arresting officers with benefits. Class B, they do not have benefits, however, they do have the same coverages.
Okay, all right.
That is something that's broken out just a little bit differently.
Do we need four?
What's
Do you
that?
have four reserves? Or are you going to?
Now, these numbers are based on the census and the risk control that was done with your department. So these are all current numbers. Now, with that said, we're moving on to the cyber. Cyber insurance this year is a different story. We are not so fortunate with our news with the cyber insurance portion of our coverage. The cyber insurance market is approaching its 25th anniversary this year, and it's in its infancy. It's relatively young compared to all the years property and casualty has been around. It's not only young, but it is in an unpredictable situation as we're kind of at a standoff as to coverage demands as they continue to come in and people wanting the cyber insurance on one side, and the other side is the insurance company who is getting battered by significantly higher than anticipated losses. I do have current industry information to share with you. And it's really shocking information, not good news.
Thank you.
These loss ratio numbers have never been seen in the industry. You'll see starting in 2020 that the loss ratio for cybersecurity insurance was at 72.8%. Ideally, an insurance company likes to keep the loss ratios around 25 to 28%. So this gives you some perspective of what we are faced with. And it gets even more significant when we focus on where these losses and ratios are happening and who's taking the brunt of this. You're going to see that in the next diagram. If you will note, the dark black line is the global average of losses. You will see that the loss ratio is right at around 430%. The gray line is municipal, governmental losses. Our losses are sitting at 1,400% loss ratio. And we say, why is this?
I know why. Because smaller towns don't spend the money to do what they need to do to make sure that everybody's protected on their computers.
This is a great point.
They don't have the funds to
The
spend it.
market crisis began, of course, with the onslaught of COVID-19, the significant increase in ransomware attacks and the emergence of what we call social engineering schemes. They're referred to as BECs in our industry, business email compromise. This now accounts for 97% of all cyber claims, and it falls under the category of cyber deception. An example would be if an employee receives an email from another employee, maybe a vendor they do business with on a regular basis, or a familiar colleague who asks them to pay an invoice or change their payment method to another source. Maybe as simple as changing a PIN number. The market took a drastic turn for the worse in 2020 when significant numbers of employees began working from home, and many companies were more focused on getting their employees back in, back up, getting running fast rather than securing them and their operations. This is referred to in the industry as the WFH migration, working from home. The situation created network vulnerability, and it widened the number of entry points for hackers and the BEC compromise situations. Many employees also let their guard down at home and use shortcuts, such as sending their work documents from their own personal email accounts, which opens a whole nother host of problems. So all of this in a nutshell, where are we today? Insurance carriers are strategically increasing premiums with average rate increases of 400% and/or lowering coverage limits and/or increasing deductibles. They are limiting the number of new applications that they'll consider, and in some cases even issuing a moratorium on writing any new business on industry classes such as education, public entities, government, healthcare, construction, and manufacturing. If coverage is afforded to these classes, they have seen premium increases averaging 500% and more. The good news after this is that we are not looking at a 500% rate increase. However, there is a significant increase this year. On the positive side, there is also a coverage addition for cyber deception, which was not included last year. The $5,000 deductible has not been increased, and the $1 million policy limit has not been reduced, so there's no change in the coverage, but I am going to pass out the coverage comparisons. So Seth, I know you're looking at the numbers here and you've already calculated, we're probably looking at about a 315% increase versus the 400 or 500%, none of which we like to see. However, because we have a good track record, we do have our security